Hello and welcome to my private site. Today we're going to be talking about the Selective Content extension. My name is David Gortz and I'm the developer of all this stuff. So when you come to the My Private Site website, which is on zatslabs.com, you can go ahead and click Get Add-ons and Extensions. And as you can see, there's a number of extensions here. And I'll be adding more to this. I have 2 or 3 others in development right now. But today we're going to be talking about selective content. Selective content allows you to show content based on a certain condition, whether you're logged in or logged out, whether you're an administrator or non-administrator, or whether you're able to edit or not edit content on the website. And you can do things like hide content, show content, truncate content, scramble content, replace content with lorem ipsum, which is my favorite feature, and also selectively hide widgets and sidebars based on these conditions. Okay, so let's switch over to the product. Right now, my selective content add-on is not enabled, and that's because I want to show you how my private site changes once you enable that add-on. So let's go to my private sites and let's go to the shortcodes page. And if you watched my overview tutorial for my private site, you'll remember that there's the ability to change text selectively based on whether you're logged in or logged out. Basically, you can hide text if logged in or hide text if logged out. And that's controlled here in the shortcodes tab. And remember that shortcodes tab because it's about to change. So I'm going to go back to plugins. And I'm going to, first off, let me mention that I'm keeping public pages, which is another add-on, active because it will help me show you some of the selective content features. You don't have to have public pages active, but probably if you're getting into selective content, you're probably going to also be using public pages. So I'm going to activate selective content, take you back over, and now instead of shortcodes, now you can see that this is the selective content tab and it has quite a bit more here for you to tinker with. So let's take a look at tinkering with it. The first thing I want to point out is that in addition to hiding content if you're logged in and logged out, you can now hide content if you're logged in or logged out, is editor, not editor, is admin or not admin, which basically means you can adjust how the content is displayed based on all these various statuses. Also, you can scramble content, truncate content, and I'll go over all this in a second. You can convert content to lorem ipsum, which is cool as heck. And you can also fix some formatting challenges that happen when you're truncating and chopping and scrambling content on a live web page. Okay, so let's go in here and let's create a couple of changes to our home page. And what I'm going to do is show you 2 things first. First, I'm going to switch over to lorem ipsum here. And the reason I can do that, by the way, is I've enabled it as one of the pages that are publicly available. But if I go, for example, to clearing floats, that is not publicly available. And again, this is the public pages add-on that lets you designate certain pages to be visible. But I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I'm going to log in as admin. And as you can see, I can log in, and I'm logged in as admin, and I want to log out. And I'm going to log in as editor. And I can log in and out as editor as well. And that's because editor can change pages, but admin can change the whole layout of the site. I'm going to log back out. So what I'm going to do is come back over here, actually log back out. Do you really want to log out? Yes. That's why I said log out. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to add a message that only shows if I'm logged in as an administrator and not if I'm logged in as an editor, and doesn't show to the general public. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that on the home page. So I'm going to go over to pages, all pages, and I'm going to edit the home page. And in this case, we're using the Gutenberg editor. You can also do this with the classic editor. In some ways, the classic editor is easier to use than the Gutenberg editor, but you can do both. Actually, before I do this, let me point out that we are going to be using the hide content options. And in this case, we're going to be looking for hide content, and then we're going to say hide if is admin instead of is not admin. So I'm going to grab this. Actually, I'm going to hide if not admin. So this is exactly what I want. I'm going to grab this chunk of text, which is a good example of how this works. I'm going to go back to that page. I'm going to go back to the home page. And right at the top, I'm going to go ahead and paste that. And so this is going to be hidden if not admin. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this text bold, and I'm going to say, there is a problem on the privacy policy page. Please fix. And I'm going to save this. Okay, I'll come back here, and we'll come back to selective content. Remember, we're working with hide content. Okay, so now I'm going to come back to this page here. I'm going to hit refresh, and as you can see, you don't see anything. I'm going to then choose to log in, and I'm going to log in as editor, and I'm logged in, or I am if I typed in my password correctly. Yep, I'm logged in, and again, you don't see anything. I'm going to log out. Now I'm going to log in as admin. And when you log in as admin, you see this message. But notice that it's like weird and over here in the corner. And I'll show you how to fix that in just a second. But as you can see, it says there's a problem on the policy page, please fix. But let's stay logged in and let's make this fix. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to here and we're going to show some formatting fixers. And there's two kinds of formatting fixers. One is to wrap everything in p tags, because what happens is when we shove these things in here, they're not often, I mean, sometimes they are not getting the formatting that the site expects, especially if you're truncating. If you're truncating a chunk of content, you may be truncating paragraphs or divs or spans and stuff like that as well. So what we need to do when we have a problem like this is to use one of the formatting fixers, and I'll summarize that for a second here. We can wrap in either a p tag, a div tag, or a span tag, or force an open p, div, or span after the item that we're fixing. So in this case, we can take a quick look. Now I have the develop menu turned on in Safari, so I can inspect the element. And when I do, if I come down here, see if I can move this up a bit so you can see it better, you'll notice that there's a p tag around the next paragraph here that uses this static, which corresponds to this. See? You can see that, but there is no p tag around here. It's just a strong, which means it's not using the paragraph formatting for this web page. So that turns out to be a very simple fix. What we're going to do is we're going to come back here. We're going to grab the wrap in fix. I'll grab wrap in p just so that we know what we're doing. We're going to grab the wrap in p. We're going to go to the page, go to the home page. I'm going to take the text and I'm just going to drop wrap in p. I'm going to update. Come back over here. I'll refresh. And now you can see that this shows up where it's supposed to, and more to the point, if we inspect the element, you can see that it is now in its own p tag the way it should be. And that gives the formatting what it needs to do. So we can use those fixers for a variety of things as we need them, and it's a very powerful tool to help you fix some formatting issues. So, and again, if I log back out and I log in as editor, you don't see that message. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of the other shortcode options that we've got. Go over to selective content. We have scramble content, and scramble content allows us to scramble the content. And since we've gotten a pretty good feel for what we're doing here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scramble this period. I'm going to scramble this paragraph here, and I'm going to scramble it only for people who are logged out. So let's log out and go back to the home page. So we're going to scramble this piece that says this is the front page content. So I'm going to come back to all pages. I'm going to go back to the home page and edit it. And this time I'm going to say privacy scramble if equals logged out, and then I'll turn off the block here with /privacy, and I'll save it. And since we're logged out, let's see what we get. We might get again a paragraph that's messed up, in which case we know how to go in and fix it, and we do. See, as you can see, it's kind of messed up there. So all we're going to do is we're going to say wrap in equals p. We'll save it. And there you go. So now that chunk of text is all nicely scrambled. And as you can see, you know there's something supposed to be there, but you can't read it because you're not logged in. And again, you can apply this to whether you're an admin or an editor or whatever else. We'll play with not logged in for the moment. Okay, so let's switch over and look at Truncate Content. And Truncate Content allows you to shorten the content. For convenience, what I've done is I've gone over to the privacy policy page and I've duplicated some of the text, so we have a nice long section of text that we can truncate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say take this cookie section and only show the first 50 words or so. So what we'll do is, and again, it's going to be if logged out. So truncate if logged out. So let's come back here and we'll grab truncate if logged out as our template. You can type this yourself, but for now this is working relatively well. Come to the privacy policy, and I'm going to actually paste it right at the beginning of cookies. I'm going to get rid of my notes in between here because you don't need that. Grab this, and I'm going to take this all the way down to the end of that first section. So truncate if logged out, and we'll say words equal 50. So it'll allow us to have 50 words here, but no more. Come back over here, we're logged out, right? Yep, we're logged out. We'll refresh. And as you can see, it's dropped us here. Once again, probably, let's take a quick look at this. Probably we need who we are. Let's come down to this section. Yep, as you can see here, the cookies section is not in its own paragraph. So we're going to put this into a paragraph. And we'll do that once again by coming over here and just saying wrap in equals p. Now I didn't make this a default because this is entirely dependent on your theme. So you might need this in all sorts of different ways depending on what you're doing. So this way you have, and also you might not need it universally. You might need it only for something that begins in the first section and moves on. It entirely is dependent on what you're doing. I'll show you that in a second, in fact. So let's refresh here. And you can see we have our cookie section and it's truncated. And there's our 50 words. But let's get rid of the wrap in here. And notice that if I stick it one word in, if I stick it after the if, and then I update it, but there's no wrap in there, I do a refresh, and now it works. And the reason it's working is because the P tag is already generated around this right there. So that's why this wrap in option is available or optional, because it really depends on what you're trying to selectively display and where you're trying to selectively display it. Okay, so now I'm going to take you to the feature that got me chuckling. And I don't know why. I mean, this may have something to do with my personality, but it just amuses me no end. And that is the lorem if function. So I'm going to grab lorem if here, and let's go back to our home page. And actually, we don't need to take the whole thing. We'll just say, instead of scramble, we'll say LOREM. We're going to lorem if logged out. And I honestly can't tell you why I love this feature so much, but it just does it for me. There you go. Right there. And like I said, I don't know why, but it just, I mean, I chuckled when I saw this feature working. It's just that fun. Anyhow, so that is the features that have to do with shortcodes in selective content. There's hide content, scramble content, truncate content, lorem ipsum content, and the formatting fixers. But there's another feature set that's also really kind of interesting that's in selective content, and that is the ability to manage sidebars and individual widgets. So what I'm going to show you first is individual widgets. And what we have here, if we look at this theme, and I am currently running 2020. If we look at the theme and we go to widgets, you'll notice that we have two sidebars, footer 1 and footer 2. And in footer 1, we have recent post, and in footer 2, we have meta. And I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to just throw, let's just throw text in there. And I'm going to say this is, oops, there we go, is a text block. Here is my text. All right, and I'm going to save it. And so now we have a meta block and a text block. And if we come here back to our demo page, you can see that we now have in this sidebar recent posts, and then in this sidebar a text block and a meta section, a text block and a meta section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my private site, go to selective content, and you can see now we have footer 1 and footer 2. And in footer 1 we have recent posts, and in footer 2 we have text and meta. And so what I'm going to do is change this to go away if you're logged in, because you don't necessarily need the section of the page that says log in if you're logged in. So we're going to come down here. We're going to look for, in footer 2, the meta widget, and we're going to say hide if logged in, and we're going to update the widget. And as you can see, it now says hide if logged in. Then we're going to come over here, and the meta widget is still here because we're not logged in. If I refresh, it's still there because we're not logged in, but we're going to log in. I'll just use my demo account to do that. Now we're logged in, and because I'm an admin, we're seeing this. But you can see that the meta block is entirely gone, which is kind of neat. Okay, so what else could we do? Well, let's go over to our widgets section. So just for now, I'm going to grab another text widget, but in the case of an admin, you might want a widget that provides some status information or version number information or any sorts of things that you might want to display when you're an admin that tells you something of particular use. So I'm going to just call this admin widget and say, hey there, admin, you are running PHP version, I don't know what version we're running, but probably 7.3. 7.3 on this site. How cool are you? But again, you would probably put some kind of useful admin related widget here that might help you as you're working through your site. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to come back to my private site, go to selective content, and you'll notice that the text widget, the second text widget, is provided. And now what we're going to do is say hide if not admin. Okay. So we have hide if logged in and hide if not admin. So let's refresh again. And you can see we now see the admin widget. You can see the admin widget. If I log out and we go back to the demo site, you'll notice the meta tag is there, but the meta widget is there, but the admin widget is not. So you have like dynamic control of not just text on your site like the lorem ipsum up here, but you also have dynamic control over things like widget location and widget placement. And so let's take one more step on that and let's nuke an entire sidebar. Let's say we don't want to show recent posts to people who are logged out, and we don't want to show anything in this sidebar. So before I nuke that, let's add another widget. So let's come over here to appearance. Let's go to widgets. We have recent posts. We know there's a categories thing. Let's just call it categories. And we'll save that. And let's do, how about, recent comments too. I don't know if we have any recent comments in the test data, but we'll just call this recent comments. So this is all sorts of good stuff that when you're accessing the homepage, you're going to want to see. You got all this junk here and all this junk here. I mean, obviously you'd format it right. But for somebody who's visiting from the outside, who's not allowed to be logged in, you may not want them to see all these links they can't get to. So let's come back over here. And let's go back to my private site. Let's go to Selective Content. And this time, rather than going ahead and turning each of these on and off, we're just going to take footer 1, which if you recall is the name of that sidebar. We're going to come over here and we're going to simply say hide if logged out. So now we're logged out and that entire footer is gone. But now here's something kind of interesting. What if we want to be able to turn on a specific part of that footer? So let's go back to our widgets. And if you recall, we made this admin widget. So let's drop this in here. And so we have all of these other things. We have categories, comments, and posts in here. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to say Selective Content. And you can see that that option for admin isn't here anymore. But now what I'm going to say is hide if is not admin. And I'll update that. So we have footer 1, which will be hidden if logged out. And we have a widget on footer 1, which will be hidden if not an admin. So first thing is I'm going to refresh this page. And as you can see, there's nothing there. I'm going to go ahead and log in. This time I'm going to log in as an editor. So I've logged in as an editor. All right, well, there we go. And now you can see the footer with categories and recent comments and recent posts, and it's all of its wonderful ugliness. I'm going to log back out. Go back to the demo site. Nothing there. Log in. This time as an admin. And now we have the admin widget. So you can see that not only can we control the entire sidebar, but we can control the sidebar and widgets in the sidebar as well as selective text. So this is the Selective Content add-on to my private site. The ability to hide and scramble and truncate and lorem ipsum content. The ability to add and remove sidebars based on logged in, logged out, editor, not editor, admin, or not editor, and the ability to control individual widgets, again, based on those conditions. If you want to grab this plugin, just head on over to the admins tab and click Selective Content and go ahead and grab the plugin. I think you'll enjoy it. Once again, my name is David Gewirtz, and for my private site, I hope you put this to great use. Have a great day. Bye-bye.